Excel 2021 Illustrated Module 7, Working with Images and Integrating with Other Programs. Page 2, Planning a Data Exchange. Now, the whole point of this chapter, well, parts of it, is to take information from one file and program and send it, copy it, link it, get it over into another program or another file. There are lots of ways that you can switch sets of information between different files. We're going to look at several specific examples, but what you do is start with a source data. It could be a file or a document, or start with a source data and transform it by some method into the destination data that will be saved in some other file or program. Now, if that sounds convoluted, it's because there are so many different options. The whole process is called object linking and embedding, OLE. And I remember when this first came out and I was so confused. I couldn't imagine what I was reading. It made no sense to me. So, and here we are 30 years later, and we're using it a lot. There are two ways that you can take information from one source and put it into a destination. One way, perhaps we should have said first, is to embed it. Embed it means you take it and stick it in there. You make a copy and you paste it somewhere. Do you have to do some transforming in the middle? Maybe. But it's just like a copy and paste, and the two files then are completely separate, as opposed to linking, which lets you put information into the destination file and still maintain a link to the source, so that if you change the source later, the destination will also update. What an amazing thing. So the first pages 2 and 3 are just an explanation, a preview of what it is you're going to be doing and explaining those terms. There are a couple of other terms. You should look at them. We'll use them. Now, the first thing we'll do is probably the easiest one. We're going to import a text file. Text meaning ASCII characters, letters and numbers, and a few punctuation. And import means we're going to bring it into our file, our program, by some method. The first activity you'll have to do for this unit is to get the data files to use. Depending on who your teacher is and how it's set up, I don't know where you'll have to download them from, but there are several files for this Module 7. For my class, they are in a Google Drive folder. It's called Module 7 set of files. And I put an instructions note at the top of mine so you could see how to do it. But what you'll recall is we did this click, shift, click technique. So I'll click the first one, press down and hold the shift key, click the last one, it selects them all, let both fingers up, put your mouse back in the blue, right click, and download. It's going to make a zipped file that will be downloaded into your downloads folder. You can then extract that. I'm just going to open mine. Depending on the browser you're using, you might get a notice down in the bottom or the bottom left. I'm using Firefox. It's in the top. Double click on it, and over in this new window, I'm in my downloads folder, and here's my zipped file. It opened it up for me, and what I have to do is extract all, and I can extract it all into, I don't want to call it that folder name, that's for sure. So I'll just extract it into, I'll say Module 7, and click extract, and it will extract them. If I go back to the downloads folder, you can see that the zip file is there. The zip file, and it has a zipper on it. Can you see the zipper? And then there's a file called Module 7, which is what I said that I wanted to save it as. If I then open Module 7, all of the files are there. So you'll need to do that before you can start. Now we can move on with page 4. We are supposed to open an Excel file, blank workbook, and save it as IL-EX blah blah. So file save, oops, I used the keys instead of the mouse. Where are you going to save it at? I don't know. Do you want documents or shall we save it in the same folder with the other files? We could browse and go to downloads and go to module 7 and we can call it IL_EX_7_TCS and save it. And now what we want to do is get the data to put in it. So we will go to the data tab to get the data. And what we want to do is get data. Notice it says get and transform. You know what? If I crank up my zoom a little bit, I bet that will be easier for, well, it only cranks up the, that's okay, here. Now I have to say to you that depending on which version you're using and how your monitor looks, you notice that there's a get data with an arrow there. Let me see, I don't think I can make my mouse work for you. Get data with an arrow, plus there are several of them written beside it, like from text/CSV file. So they're the same. You can use either one. You use whichever one you have. What I'm going to do is get it from a text file, and then I have to navigate to wherever my files are, which I'm in downloads in module 7, and there happens to be one text file there. If I needed to, I could go to the bottom right-hand corner and change it from just text files to all files, and then I would see everything. That's a trick that hangs up lots of students when they're starting to learn this. I'll go back to text files, and I'm supposed to open that one and import. Now we're waiting. It's going to open up a window to help you import it. It says what the name of it was, and a delimiter is the character that separates one thing from another. Tabs are common character delimiters, so are spaces, and so are commas. Very common in a CSV file or comma separated CSV values, comma separated values. This is called a Power Query Editor. It's on in your little green quick tip box. So anyway, so we're going to import that, and we don't have to transfer with this one, so we're just going to load it. There is an older way to do it, and it actually comes up in a little while before that Power Query Editor. So if you have to use an older version of Excel, it's the same thing. It's just a different looking window. No big deal. On the right-hand side here is a window they opened for you for queries and connections, and we don't need that for this exercise, so we will close it. And now we're going to go up on the Review tab, and click the spelling button in the proofing group. This is the proofing group, a spelling button. And lo and behold, if it didn't find development misspelled, so of course we want to change that. And you've seen this same dialog box before, nothing new. And we're good. So we'll change that. And now that we have something new in there, it went on to its own worksheet tab, and we still have a tab 1 with nothing in it. We're going to rename the file now, so I will say File Save As, because we're giving it a new name. We'll still save it in the same location, sure, why not? Oops, I didn't follow the directions. You're supposed to read. Rename this file, so I'll double click on it and call it TCS Revenue. Okay, press the Enter key. Now we can go up to the Home tab. Yeah, that's right. Was I supposed to? Right. Where am I supposed to rename it at? It's coming down here. Rename the sheet. Okay, read the directions. On the Home tab, format column B in the accounting style, but they said with a dollar sign and no decimal places. All right. So you want to change it to no decimal places. Two ways to do it. One would be, and I always have to count here to be sure which one. I can go fewer decimal places. Do you see that? I mean, we did this already. Or you can come over to the accounting and symbol, go down to more format, and here under accounting, you can change it to 0 places. Yeah, take your pick. Alrighty. Then delete sheet 1. So I'm going to right click on sheet 1 and delete the sheet. And then it's always a good technique not to save it like this because the poor person who opens it after you will end up opening it in the same format. So I'm going to click on cell A1, and in that case, I'm done. So I'm going to save, and I would close, except I want to show you this other on the little gold box. Boy, this video is getting too long, isn't it? Okay. Another way to import text into an Excel file is to go to the File tab and click Open. And then where do you want to find your files at? So we'll go Browse, and we'll go to Module 7. And remember, I showed you it's only text files down here. So let's change to all files. Alrighty. And then, or we could change it to just text files if you want to just, it's in here somewhere. There. Look. Oh, see, I can't zoom in and show you at the same time. Well, I could do it in post edit, but I bet I won't. Text files, and then click the file you want and click open. And this is the old-fashioned window way to do it. And it's step 1 through 3 of a wizard. Wizards are little mini programs that help you do a hard thing by stepping you through it one step at a time. And it shows you what it thinks we want it to look like. Do we have a delimiter between each one? Yes, we do, as opposed to a fixed width, which sometimes they do. And go to next. And then, so what is it you have in between yours? And it correctly assumed it is a tab because this looks right. And then click next. And if I needed to change a data type, but I don't, so I can click finish. And that's the old way to do it. You'd have to do a little more fixing, but that works just fine. Both ways we work.